Hello and welcome to another AIC video. Today I'm going to be doing a video that's the next in a series. Previously I had covered the X220 and the X250, and now I'm going to cover what I think is be one of the best ThinkPads that you can buy, period. I said it, fight me. No, don't really do that, but let me go over some of the reasons why I think the X270 is one of the best ThinkPads that you can buy, new or used. Compared to an X250, it's exactly the same weight, same dimensions, same keyboard, same speakers, same docking station on the bottom, and nearly the exact same case. If you don't look at the ports or the label on it telling you what it is, you'd be hard pressed to find any difference between the two until you actually used it. There's a couple of big improvements on the system, and the first one being is that you'll notice a huge improvement in the screen. While a 1366 by 768 panel was available on the system, the 1920 by 1080 IPS screens are way more common, and they're a huge upgrade. And this one is even a touchscreen. It's not a big nasty gloss glass piece here on the front, but it's still got Lenovo's great anti-glare matte finish to it. So you're not annoyed by the bright reflections in the room or of your own face on the screen. It makes it an actual usable touchscreen to me. Normally I'm not a huge fan of touchscreens because they most often come with that big shiny piece of glass on the front. This one's plenty bright to use in offices, even outside, and it's still that nice matte finish, which I really appreciate. The next big improvement on the system is the touchpad. Previous generations had a fairly cheap feeling click to them. This one is definitely improved. I don't know what changes they made, but the click on it is far more satisfying. It's more of a thunk than a click, and it just feels less cheap. Just a lot more solid of a feel. But a better screen and a better trackpad do not a great computer make. So what's so good about this machine specifically? The ports and expandability. So first and foremost, this computer has two slots for storage. It has a 2242 SSD slot, and the 2280 could have 2.5 depending on how it's configured, but so you get either a 2242 and a 2280 or a 2242 and a 2.5 inch drive bay, which means you can run tiered storage, or you can do dual boot, so you can have storage dedicated for two completely different operating systems. So if you need to run Linux for something and Windows for another, you can do that. Or if you want to use it between a work and a personal laptop, you could have a work boot device and a personal boot device. So you really have some options there. It also is DDR4, which means you can run 4, 8, 16, or even 32 gigs off of the single DIMM in here. Now, I've had other laptops of previous generations that with 4 slots max out at 32 gigs. This does it with just 1. And I have seen 64 gig DIMMs, but they're very expensive and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Now, there is a limitation there. It doesn't run in dual channel, but still, you have that capacity available to you. Then we get to the ports. We have a few standard ports like gigabit Ethernet. Here on this side, we have our SD card reader. We have 2 USB Type A ports. The one over here being always on, so you can charge like a phone or camera or something off of it, even with the laptop not being powered on. On the bottom here, you have, as I mentioned earlier, the dock connector, so you can have one of these docks that I showed in my previous video with the X250. These are like 20-30 bucks on eBay right now. And that's with a charger. Like, these are really inexpensive and very plentiful. And this laptop uses this dock. We also have an HDMI 1.4 port here, which includes support for up to 4K 30 Hertz or 120 hertz at that 1920 by 1080. So you have variable refresh, high refresh through that port. We also have a USB Type-C right there, which offers power delivery and display port. Now, what does that mean? First of all, you can connect all the things. You want to charge your laptop off the square barrel plug? You absolutely can. You want to charge it off of USB Type-C? You can. If you want to charge it off a battery bank, it will be slow, but it is possible. If you want to use a cheap no-name brand or like this Dell USB adapter, go for it. You can do that. If you need to connect to a network, plug into a network, you can go to any network jack, plug right in. If you have SD cards, you can pull right off of a full-size SD card on here. You don't have to have an adapter for full size, or you can do the minis through an adapter. You need to pull a bunch of data off the network. It also has a 5 gigahertz and a 2.4 gigahertz wireless card in here, so you get both bands. You need to plug in an external device. You can plug in your Palm Pilot. You can plug in your old zip drive. You can do it on this laptop. It is very versatile when it comes to what ports it has on it. And to me, that's so critical. This laptop truly spans the decades. Short of a dedicated serial or parallel port, it really gives you all the options just about anybody with a large collection of random computer bits and bobs could want in a daily use computer. And that to me defines what a ThinkPad really is. It's a tool. Is a ThinkPad pretty? Not really. Is it the fastest device on the market? Absolutely not. While they have a very specific design language and are competitive on specs, it's not really the point. They are meant to get a job done. And this X270 is one hell of a Swiss Army knife. Before anybody says anything, I know there are larger ThinkPads. The newer ones still have an Ethernet port, but this can be used one-handed. I can sit there and hold this one hand and use it if I'm out in the data center, if I'm at a end user's desk or whatever, and I don't have a place to set this down at. I can still be using this walking around and not being burdened by a heavier, bigger laptop that I worry about dropping. It really is a perfect size and weight. It's small enough and light enough that I can carry it around, like I said, with one hand, use it, but it's not so small as to be unusable. And the most important thing for me for this laptop is that I don't have to think about if I can do a job with it, if I can do the work I need to. I've never not been able to connect to what I've needed to connect to, or stop and dig for the right adapter, or go back to my desk to get the right adapter. Wherever I bring this to, I have the ports I need to be able to use it. Now, going back a little bit to the specs on this thing, graphics does step it up. It has UHD 620, and it is better than previous generations, but we're still far from a gaming laptop. You're not going to want to do anything too serious on here. I've mentioned before, when I'm done doing the individual showcases, I have one more to do. We'll be doing a performance and gaming comparison between the 4 systems. So I'll be putting the same games on these and playing some games, going through some scenarios with them. So you'll be able to actually have a side-by-side comparison of the different systems. Now, what about the price on here? It's like people agree with me a little bit. The X270 is a better system than previous generations, and people show it in the appropriate manner. While the X250 goes for about $150 to $200, an X270 with a 7th gen processor. Now, there are 6th gen processors out there. I'd go ahead and find one with the 7th gen. It is a step up, and they cost about the same. They go for about $250 to $350. Now, I'll put a link to some of these in the description. The seller that I bought mine from on eBay has some available that are very similarly spec'd out. So they have the touchscreen and the Core i5 7th gen processor. And they'll be linked in the description. and I got it for a little under $300, so right in that mid price point for a fairly decent condition system. And in my last video, I said that the X250 laptop is definitely one I would still recommend today. For about $150, it's really a no-brainer. It's a great value at that price. But if you have a few more dollars to spend and you're looking at that $250 to $300 price point, I don't think you'd find a better system than this on the market right now in that sub $300 price point. New or even used, you're going to find a lot fewer options for sure in that price point. So me personally, this is definitely a keeper long term on this laptop. I truly think that this is one of the best values for the money, as well as just being one of the best ThinkPads that Lenovo made. It really hits a lot of the marks as far as it being a tool to be able to get the job done. You have all your different connections, and you don't have to worry about having to go back and finding that connector. It has the bridged battery, so you have the removable battery in the back, you have the internal battery, so you can increase your battery capacity if you need to. You can use the docks, you can all sorts. You can use even this very expensive Dell Thunderbolt. You can use this to connect to your system. It just is an amazing laptop for the value, for the money. Anyways, if you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, leave that down in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to answer. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.